So welcome and thanks for taking the time. And if you're in business services, I'm sorry because you've heard a lot of this before, and that's okay. We have a few that are not. It looks like on the chat or on the Zoom. So I will focus my energy on you, good people. But thanks for being here. I assume that you are either a financial manager or somebody who works for somebody who is a financial manager. And so it's very helpful for us to sort of help you understand what business services is and why we exist, and make sure you know that we want to be your friend. So if you have questions or comments, please throw them into the chat. My colleague from Moab, Alyssa Keogh, is here, and she's great, and she will keep us on track, on the straight and narrow. So yes, we are going to do an icebreaker. Pretty simple. So if you're on Zoom, you're going to need to figure out a way to indicate the answers to these questions. The easiest is for you to turn your camera on for the duration of this icebreaker. You can turn it back off. Makeup's not required for this, so if you don't have makeup on, no judgment here. So the first question is, stand up if you are an only child. Anybody? Who? So we have one or two. Want me to go forward, or you gotta? There's not that many, are there?
There's 18 people.
Really? Okay, stand up if you have a cat.
Just a couple stand up.
Stand up if you have 5 cats. How many? Are there any 5 cat people?
Nope.
Okay, so we're not going to ask if you have 10 cats. No crazy cat ladies in here. Stand up if you can swear in a language other than English. Oh, doesn't mean if you, but you could. But you could. We have one here. There's not a contest, Dora. Is there any on there?
There's 2 or 3.
Stand up if you've had an interaction with the police in the last month. Oh, Dora.
The non-English swear.
Yes. There's a story there. Stand up if you have a name for the car you drive. Oh, what's the name of your car, Karina? What? Val? Really? Okay. There's someone there?
Yeah.
Did she say what it is?
Anita.
Anita.
I need a little of this and need a little of that.
All right. Finally, stand up if you have an unusual hobby or interest. I'll be the judge. Just tell me. Throw something out at me and I'll let you know. What? Plants? That's good. That's not like
hundreds, not hundreds, all of them in the house.
like mashed potato wrestling, for example.
I collect Starbucks cups.
Starbucks cups. Okay, are there any on there? Not really. Okay. All right. Thank you for being a good sport. We like to do icebreakers in business services just so we can get to know each other a little bit. So sorry, today it's important. If you're not in business services, I want to share with you a little bit about who we are, talk to you a little bit about why we exist, what some of the outcomes are that we hope to accomplish when we created business services, some of the challenges that we are facing, and of course, there's a big finish. So just some information now to give you a little bit of a taste about who we are.
I work in business services. Of course, management is.
I work in business services. Of course, I'm professional and kind.
I work in business services. Of course, I got every policy.
I work in business services. Of course, I want you to read every word in my email message.
I work for business services, and of course I know that Whitney is the boy's name. That's a cry for help.
For business services, of course, we use acronyms way too much. LOL.
I work in business services. Of course, I'm gonna ask you a million questions about what you want to do.
I work in business services. Of course, you can't use your P card to buy that $15,000 piece of equipment.
I work in business services. Of course, I know all the HR deadlines.
I work in business services. Of course, I work in business services. Of course, I want to know about your travel before you actually take it.
I'm in business services, and that sounds like English, but I don't understand a word you're saying.
I work for business services. Of course, I stop people and ask them for their P-card receipts.
I work for business services. Of course, I need to find an IRS report for that. I work in business services. Of course, I'm going to tell you 50 cents for everything you ask. I work in business services. Of course, I spend too much time in Excel.
I work for business services. Of course, I pretend to like icebreakers.
I work in business services. Of course, I know the name of all my customers, but not their faces.
I work in business services. Of course, I do.
I work in business services. Of course, I know. I work in business services, so of course, I have my name on all my notepads.
Yo trabajo en business services y por supuesto que quiero que quites los taxes de ese cobro, loco.
I work in business services. Of course, I don't want to can't get a hold of anybody.
I work in business services. Of course, I'm going to make you explain everything you buy. I work in business services. I always come to work with a smile.
I work in business services. Of course, I have a drinking problem.
I'm in business services. Of course, I'm gonna ask who, what, when, where, why, and how much is it gonna cost for everything you wanna do.
I work in business services. Of course, I know what the going rate is for the price of a body for the cadaver.
Jeez.
I work in business services. Of course, I know that Whitney is a girl's name.
Be better without that.
Business services, of course I've gotten my glamour shot.
We work in business services. We're always happy with our salary increases.
I work in business services. Of course, I think this is all BS.
Okay, that's it. Hopefully that wasn't offensive to anybody. So that was a little bit of an introduction to our team and a little fun. We try to stay trendy in business services. So yeah, so business services, we started in 2013. And at the time there was kind of Wild West a little bit at the university of who was doing what with what we consider now business services. It was all over the place. And there was at least 700 people at the university who were initiating transactions. And this ranged from staff assistants and business assistants and program coordinators and accountants to department heads, PIs, faculty, and even deans in some cases were going in and touching our systems and trying to figure out how to do things. And President Albrecht at the time during the Great Recession in the late 2000s, asked us to look at business services type of a concept, study it, and as a result of that, a few years later, we went forward with business services. So why did we do this? One was this culture of generalists, of people who were sort of given everything for their department, and they had their hands on everything, and probably were experts in not necessarily all of it or most of it, but they were such good employees that they were trusted, and so they were just given everything, including all of the business stuff. And not necessarily the best model, as you can imagine. And as I mentioned a minute ago, we had too many initiators, and we had inconsistent financial management. And so the reports, the analysis, the decisions, support, these types of things, the strategic input from the that our department heads need, and that type of thing was just hit and miss. There was a lack of independence of our business team members, and so if there was a transaction that was clearly outside of policy and that team member wanted to say no, that they couldn't do that, then they reported to the department head who was asking them to do it, and they could be threatened with losing their job, or feel threatened that they were going to lose their job if they said no. And so there was no separation there, and so that was just a big part of our model in business services. We had what I'll nicely call an inconsistent policy focus. And that's sort of a nice way of saying people were trying to get around policies whenever they could. And also that we, did you guys hear this was really good and you wanted to come see it?
Yeah, I guess.
And there was also a lack of a network for our business services team, sort of a lack of identity, and just everybody was sort of on their own, on their own deserted island almost, it felt like, for a lot of these individuals. So welcome. We're glad you're here, by the way. So these are some core concepts that we wanted to sort of build into the model. And a lot of these things, if you're familiar with your business services team members in your area, these will be familiar to you. We created a new position called the financial officer position. We had what we call embedded teams. And so our employees are not in a cubicle farm. We did not everybody move them like down to the old Hastings building downtown. We could have done that, but we didn't. We wanted them to sit in their areas. And so it's easy for you to sort of go down the hall and find your business services team person and get their help. We do have some groups. We do have some people co-located, but they're not all in, like I said, in one cubicle farm location. We also have so these are 2 points that we built into business services structure that really didn't exist before, but are very important to maintaining a strong control environment. One is that we have every transaction is touched by business services, and they do what we call a review approval. So they're just reviewing it for accuracy on the, making sure it's in compliance, making sure it's the right account codes, that type of boring accounting stuff, but very important. But they're not making a decision about what to spend the money on. That comes at the department level, the unit level, and that's the 4th step, where the department head or the financial manager or the PI is able to click on that transaction and say, yes, I want to buy those pens instead of those pencils. And that's completely their prerogative. As long as it's legal, we won't stop it. But the decision on how money gets spent is 100% on the head of the business manager, or sorry, financial manager or department head. If you have questions, you can jump in, please. I'm stuck behind this monitor here, so I'm not going to work the crowd. But so 2 main roles that we have in business services. One is to provide financial management for all units, and that's, as I said a minute ago, sort of the reports, the analysis, the taste of dose reality. Oops, I'm messing around here. And the second one is to process and review financial transactions. So EPAFs and journal vouchers and travel, and P-card stuff, and scholarships in some places, contracts, a lot of different ways that we touch the system. Now, this is a slide that we that I want to emphasize as well, because there are things that we don't do, believe it or not. One is we don't make the spending decisions. And as I said a minute ago, if a department head or financial manager wants to spend all their money on a kayak, and that has, and you were supposed to buy canoes, well, that's on them. As long as it's legal and there's no compliance issues, we're not going to stop it necessarily. We might say that's a dumb idea, but we're not going to say no. We'll review it, as I said, but if that's what they want to do, that's up to them. So the financial managers make the spending decisions. We don't do that in business services. We don't control the money. The second thing we won't do is tell you no. Okay, we probably will tell you no. It probably does happen all the time, actually, but hopefully we're telling you to you in a nice way, possibly using euphemisms like there's probably a different way to doing that, or maybe I can help you do that, this other way, or tell me what you're trying to really do, without saying just flat out no and walking away. That's kind of the idea. We want to be good. We want to support you. We want to help you achieve what you're trying to do, not be an obstacle. And finally, it's what we are not the police. We definitely don't have time to be watching over your shoulders while you do all your job. What we will do, though, is one of the benefits of business services is we have experts, and so they sort of develop an intuitive sense of things, and if they see something that's weird, they will ask you about it, and hopefully correct problems before they become huge. And of course, there are times where it gets way beyond that, and people figure out a way to beat the system, but in any way possible, we are going to help you sort of help yourself stay legal, stay out of jail, stay out of the newspaper. So, but we do not consider ourselves the police. We are just trying to help the university succeed. Is that a fair statement? So we have 19 financial officers. They have dual reporting lines to the executive for their area and to me. Each financial officer has a team of employees that ranges from just a few to 20 or more, and it depends on the size of the college, the complexity of the college. These are the titles, and so if you're familiar with your business services colleagues, these are the titles that they will have. And some of the people have emphasis like on travel or HR sometimes, but these are their banner titles. And here's a little sort of had to do one little spreadsheet summary here for this, but just to show you that about half and half between exempt and non-exempt employees, and 183 total right now. And that number in the low 180s, we've been at that for the last 3 or so years. Whoa, did I do that right? Yeah, we're good. Okay, so these were the outcomes that we looked for with business services when we went into this thing. We were hoping to have cost savings. We were hoping for a higher level of customer service so that our people could do things faster and better because they would be more focused. Efficiency would go along with that, having fewer generalists and more specialists. We wanted a tighter control environment because we wanted to make sure that approvals were in place, that duties were separated, and so our people could raise concerns without worrying about losing their jobs. As I said a minute ago, we wanted a network for our people so that they could feel like they had colleagues at the campus that they could work with, that they could go bowling with or whatever, go on walks with at lunch. We wanted to be able to roll out initiatives. So before, if we had we do the salary process in my office, we're the salary planner, and if you're familiar with that, in the budget office, that's my weird hobby. But before business services, it was always hard for us to know who to send the memos to for the budget process. Who was it in the department that we needed to contact in order to make sure that the department head and deans and VPs were getting the information? It was hard, we just didn't have a list. Now we know exactly who to talk to. We have 19 financial officers and they are 100% in tune with their college, and they know exactly how to do that. So rolling out initiatives, policies, things like that is so much easier now. Another outcome we were hoping for was backup, and by that I mean if we have an unexpected absence or an unexpected maternity leave or something. Are those ever unexpected? We could have somebody sort of fill in temporarily from another area if there was a need for that. And as I've mentioned already, the improved expertise is something we really hope for, and something that I'll talk about in a minute, which has been a big success. And we wanted career paths for these colleagues. We wanted them to feel like they had a way to progress. So what are some of the challenges and successes? So some challenges that we face that every unit on campus faces these in some form. Staying connected. We have 19 financial officers with 19 teams, but we want them to feel like they're all part of the same organization of business services. So keeping them connected is a challenge. Training, like just for every area, also is a challenge. Keeping a strategic focus. And so it's hard sometimes not to just be consumed with what's right in front of you every day with your approvals, your reviews, your emails, but helping our people sort of make sure that we're thinking strategically is a challenge. Compensation, making sure people are paid fairly, making sure our titles reflect their duties accurately. Big challenge. One of my, I don't know if I'm my least favorite, but it's definitely something that I'm not very good at. Comfort zones. So like all of you, I like to get in my comfort zone and live there. Nothing grows in comfort zones, right? And so helping my people get out of their comfort zones from time to time is, in my opinion, a good thing. They don't always like it. And telework is also a challenge that we're all sort of still figuring out, as you know. So some successes. I feel like these are things that I've noticed, that I've been told, other offices have told me these are things that they've noticed. So we've created something new. You know, this business services thing, you may be used to it, but it is new. It's still pretty new, but it's sort of built on identity, and I'm super proud of that. We've changed the culture. You know, we do have an organization. We have an identity. I really like that. The control structure for the university is stronger. We have a lot more eyes on things. We have a lot more reviews. So I think the money is being managed and looked after as well as it's ever been. The financial officer position is visible, and again, this is something that is just sort of a regular business around here now. The rollouts, as I mentioned a minute ago, are what that was, but those are easier now, much quicker. And people in business services will know this, but we try to discuss and talk about ethics and ethical boundaries and setting those boundaries and just maintaining a vigilance over our conduct so that we personally, each individual is just always trying to make sure we're doing the right thing and not getting off the straight and narrow. And this is a comment that HR tells me a lot, and that is that people are asking the right questions. And what that means is, you know, HR has, their phone never stops ringing, and some of the questions they get are low level and some are pretty advanced. And the questions that they're getting from our business services colleagues are definitely the hard questions, and that's a good thing. They see that, and so our people are not just asking how to do something, they're asking why, and they're also looking at the big picture. They're digging deeper, looking for fewer shortcuts, and just trying to do things the right way. So why am I so lucky? This is the big finish here. So I have amazing colleagues, and some of them are here today, and some of them are online, I think. I'm not sure, but I do have amazing colleagues, and here's some of their pictures. Let's see. Where's Carly? No, just kidding. Are you on there? So this is not everybody, but these are just some of their glamour shots, and just a lot of great people, a lot of great individuals that I've been very fortunate to get to know and work with. They're a lot of fun, and they definitely have helped me in my career. So just to sort of conclude this part is that I counted them up recently, and these colleagues have been awarded 62 awards in the last several years, last few years of, these are like Staff Employee of the Month, Employee of the Year for SEA. We've had 2 of those. Just departmental awards, college awards, any of these types of organizations that recognize excellence and quality. Our people have cleaned up, and every year I look forward to this time of year because people are getting these awards, but it's because of the quality of individuals that we have, and I'm just super proud of them. Okay, so we're going to take a quiz now on Kahoot. So you're going to need a phone or something, but there is a prize. I guess everybody in business services can play, but in theory, you're not eligible for the prize because it's a nice fancy phone stand holder. So please, everybody can play. What you want to do is you will go to kahoot.it, and I'm going to switch screens here, so just bear with me for a minute. Let's see. And then you can, so if you're not familiar with Kahoot, you go to kahoot.it, and it'll ask you for a code, a PIN, and you're going to type that PIN in. I guess you can scan it now. And then you want to put your name in there, your real name, so that I know who wins the prize. And we'll try to get these to you at a future time. And this is also a recruiting presentation because we would love you to come into business services eventually if you're not a part of us. So hopefully this doesn't scare you away. Okay, let's see. That's Louis. Is there anybody who is not able to get in yet? Because I'm going to start the deal here if we're ready. Are we ready? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And if you're not familiar with Kahoot, accuracy matters, but also speed. So you want to get your answers in quickly if you. Okay, whoever missed that needs to stay after class. Gonna go to, no, I'm just kidding. 19 financial officers. There's always one. There's always one. That's all right. What type of expenditures does business services do a review approval for? No, alcohol can be purchased, and we do review those expenditures as well. And who's any man? Whitney is a boy's name. Hey, you got to submit your answer on this one. A little different.
Oh.
What did you put? Yeah. There's no wrong answer. Who put false? Which these weren't anonymous. Okay, we use all these systems, but which systems does business services actually own, administer, and maintain? What are our systems versus HR or controller's office systems? I guess is the way to say it. This is a little bit of a tricky one. Yeah, there you go. We don't actually own any of those systems. We are customers and users just like you are. So if you don't like them, blame those people. But yeah, we don't own those systems. Which central offices work most closely with business services? Cool. Oh, Karina, you're doing well. You really want that phone stand. Business services is almost 10 years old. What's the right answer? 11. Good. Sorry, that was a trick question. A little bit of a trick question. You can use an all card to purchase gasoline for a rental vehicle when traveling. Hey, hey, how do you say stop it in Chinese?
Okay, switch.
Alicia. Okay, that is that is allowed. Yes. You can't use it for your own car, but you can use it for a rental. This Excel feature allows you to easily calculate, summarize, and analyze data. I expect business service people to get 100% on these last few.
Yes.
Boom. Pivot tables. If you don't use them and you use Excel very much, give it a try. LinkedIn Learning has some great, easy courses. I asked business services peeps what they wish they could improve in customers' interactions. This was their #1 answer. And they're all real answers, by the way, but this is the #1. These are things they wish our customers would do better or wish our customers would suck less at. However you want to say it. Yes, email communication, responding to email, reading email. And that's as much on us as it is on the customers, by the way. We can't blame customers if they're not reading emails. What is the going price for a cadaver, including shipping and handling? Yes,
Oh, you really did go over this.
yes. $1,500 little dollars. That's what you're worth when you're dead. It's $1,500. Oh, I always almost forget this. Who won? Karina, who is Lee? Who is Lee? We need to know who Lee is.
Yeah, Whitney, that's me, Leanna.
Okay, cool. You won. Karina forfeits. Okay, so thank you. We want to be friends. We work closely with HR and controller's office, and we appreciate she's from HR, so I'm gonna brown nose. But no, we want to be friends with you, and we want to help you succeed. As I said, we don't teach, we don't research, we don't do the public service stuff, but we support those that do, and so it's a very important role, and that's why we're behind the scenes. And yeah, so we appreciate you and your questions to your business services team members in your area. And I hope that you will support them and give them kudos. They deserve it. Are there any questions or comments or criticisms or suggestions for improvement on the chat? Okay. Well, thank you for your time.